if I am not guilt, if I am not shame, who am I? I am love, pure and holy, innocent as the morning, fresh and bright, and wide awake as sunlight. I am love, pure and holy, open as a doorway, run and jump, sing and shout, leave the door wide, on your way out. I am love, I am love. If I am not betrayed, if I am not forgotten, if I am not hate, if I am not rage, what am I? If I am not pain, if I'm not confusion, if I am not right, if I am not wrong, who am I? I am love, pure and holy, innocent as the morning, fresh and bright, and wide awake as sunlight. I am love, pure and holy, open as a doorway, run and jump, sing and shout, leave the door wide, on your way out. I am love, I am love, I am love, pure and holy, innocent as the morning, fresh and bright, and wide awake as sunlight. I am love, pure and holy, open as a doorway, run and jump, sing and shout, leave the door wide, on your way out. I am love, I am love, we are love, we are
And it seems natural to talk about loving your neighbor. I cannot tell you if I have ever looked up the original source of the love your neighbor commandment until this week. And it's in Leviticus 19, for those of you who brought your Bibles this morning. I didn't either. Don't worry. And it's buried in a whole list of other commandments. Now it's interesting, I guess 600 and, do you remember how many commandments there are, laws there are in Hebrew scripture? I want to say 626. And since none of you know, that'll stand as until somebody Googles it.
Hey Siri.
Somebody came to Jesus and said, what are the greatest commandments? Well, you know, with over 600 of them, I can see how you'd like to know, like, where should I focus my attention? Because there were different factions that thought, you should follow all of them to the same degree, and maybe that isn't possible, but the more exact folks were into the scrupulosity of keeping all the laws all the time. So Jesus was asked, what's the greatest commandment? What do I do? And the answer was to love the Lord your God with everything you have and are. And the second one is like the first one. It's love your neighbor as yourself. So the greatest two commandments are to love. And sometimes it's as easy as these babies in the aisle at the grocery store. It sounds ideal and sweet when we see these two little babies reaching out for each other. But it gets a little more complicated, as Susan was saying, because our neighbors are not just the people who live near us or sit next to us in class. Our neighbors are the people with whom we have contact, maybe just passing contact. You know, babies are designed to be lovable because they can't survive unless somebody takes care of them. But some of our neighbors are not as easy to love as that. And to this list, I would add love thy mentally ill neighbor, thy hateful neighbor, thy smelly neighbor, thy antisocial neighbor, and so on. You know, thy neighbor who has those loud parties until 2 in the morning. You get the idea. So, we're talking about love, so we're going to spend a minute or two talking about the metaphysical definition of love. As this says, love is a divine attribute, an idea in the one mind. And that one mind is God mind. God is love, and love is God, or a quality in being. Divine love is broad and unlimited, a universal and harmonizing power. There's that word again, harmony and harmonizing. In reality, there is only one love. And this is the definition from Charles Fillmore's The Revealing Word. When we express divine love in limited ways, then we're making a separation in our consciousness. We look at the metaphysics, now we're going to look at the origin of the word. Agape-theos means you shall love. And it's the kind of love, it's not romantic love. It's the way God loves us. So that's the way we are told to love. In the New Testament, it's usually the active love of God for the Son and for people, and the active love that people are to have for God and each other, and even for their enemies. To love is, to agapesis, is to love, value, esteem, feel, or manifest generous concern for, be faithful toward, or to delight in. As I read this, it occurred to me that active love is what is also called a care ethic, which is really putting our love in this context, into action. Nel Noddings is an educator and philosopher who wrote the book Caring in 1984. And I was in school at the time, and I did find a paperback version of it, but I'm really impressed that the professor assigned a book that was so recent. I took that for granted back then. Noddings draws on maternal perspective as a basis for an ethical framework, particularly in education. But she's gone on to write in other areas as well. We'll see a quote later from her book, Peace Education. Noddings identifies two parties in the care ethic. There is the one caring, the carer, as I think of them, and the cared for. And she says there is a reciprocal relationship. It's not just one way. And this is the relationship that happens when a child in a classroom has a question, and the teacher turns to that child and becomes the one caring. And the child becomes the cared for in that moment in time. This is a quote from Peace Education that I thought described this dynamic and relationship pretty succinctly. The one who cares must meet the cared for just as he or she is. That's one of the reasons we say there are no stupid questions. Whatever your question is valid. And that cared for one is a whole human being with individual needs and interests, which may not fit into your lesson plan for today. So keep that in mind, teachers. At most, a caring ethic directs us to attend, to listen, and to respond as positively as possible. I thought that sounded like unity. To really be present, for me to be completely present to you just as you are. In that moment is when caring happens. And the caring ethic recognizes that virtually all human beings desire not to be hurt. And this gives us something close to an absolute, because one of the objections to the care ethic is that it's too general. So if you need to focus that, think of it as not inflicting deliberate hurt or pain. So you don't shame that child if their question is off topic, or if they don't understand the concept you're trying to teach, because that would be inflicting hurt and pain. Noddings says that we naturally want to care for children, but it's not that natural in all of our relationships. Another way to understand care ethics is from writing by Toronto and Fisher. Everything we do to maintain, contain, and repair our world so that we can live in it as well as possible, including our bodies, ourselves, and our environment. So this is not just interpersonal caring, but again, it's about being completely present to all that is. And it's easy to see that does get pretty general. But it's a little less abstract than love is a quality in being. I like that idea, but it's a little hard to unpack that. And if we're talking about living love, we need to be able to bring that idea of caring into some kind of concrete expression. And I have, since I read Noddings' work in the 80s, I have thought that it provided a great framework for doing that as a principle. And I'm attracted to principles because we teach those here in Unity. This is not one of Unity's basic principles, but it is a principle that gives us a direction for our caring. The law says you shall love. One of the reasons we unpack the word love is because you can't really command a feeling. Even though I heard more than once, don't be mad at your brother. The feelings are the feelings. Noddings says that natural caring is what we're all moving toward. But sometimes we just have to start with caring about. In Unity, we would call that willingness to care. So we start out with the principle of caring, and that it is the greatest of the commandments. So there really is an expectation that we will live that out. Care ethics takes that and says, as a principle, I ought to care. And I choose that principle, so I choose to care. Because it's a moral principle, Noddings says it's the basis of morality. Caring is the basis of morality. And we care because everybody is worthy. Everybody desires care. And we all benefit from care. And in true Unity fashion, caring comes from our best selves. And it seeks to support and empower, even to draw out the best self in the one cared for. It's a lifting up. That's how we live love. We lift one another up. Noddings calls this ethical caring as opposed to natural caring, and says it does sometimes have to be summoned. An inner voice grumbles, I ought to, but I don't want to. Why should I respond? Or, this guy deserves to suffer. Why should I help? And it's on these occasions that we may need to turn to the principle. And then as we do, and we have different tricks that we use for that. Imagining that snotty neighbor as a 6-year-old girl, it's much easier to care about her that way. And it makes me wonder what happened to that girl between 6 and 66 that made her so unpleasant. But we reach out. And we have a memory of caring and being cared for. And that's part of what fuels our caring, our living love. We remember when we were on the receiving end, and it makes it easier and flows better when we're caring for others. So living love describes our commitment to show up, to be our best selves in every relationship. And that's a very small R relationship. It means the lady who helps me figure out how to use the self-checkout at Kroger's. That's not a very long relationship, but during the time that we're interacting, my job is to live love in that interchange. It's also our care for others, extending as generously to each other as God extends that caring to us. And it means being willing to receive care from others. We all want God to care about us and for the universe to take care of us. But sometimes when the universe sends people to care for us, we don't want to get into that. Strings, obligations, I don't want to have to be nice to you, so don't be nice to me. That's not what this is about. You have to be willing, open to receiving as well as to being the givers of love and care. So now our music team is going to help us prepare for a meditation on living love. And we'll see what's like next. That's the universe supporting you. As you settle into your chair, let your head float up like a balloon so that your spine is straight and your lungs are free to expand. Focus your attention on the top of your head. Imagine the crown of your head opening to allow you to breathe through the crown of your head. Breathe in the light of divine love. As you inhale, picture breathing in a bright, white energy that begins to fill you with warm, liquid love. As you exhale, let that light expand down into your whole body. Feel the warmth and the love and the positive energy as you fill your being with the light of God. Now bring to mind a neighbor, perhaps someone near where you live that you see frequently but don't know well. On your next exhale, open your heart center and breathe that light with which you have filled yourself. Breathe it toward your neighbor. Breathe in divine love through the crown of your head and breathe it out with the intention to bless this neighbor. Imagine him or her warmed and filled and enveloped in positive energy, just as you have been enveloped by that light of God. Now bring someone to mind who is in need. Repeat this same practice, breathing in God's love and light, breathing in through the crown of your head and exhaling it through your heart. someone you don't particularly care for. You don't have to know them personally, just someone you know of. You can even love this unliked person with this practice because it's not your love that you are sending to them. It's universal love. Let the love and the light of God pour through you to bless anyone. Breathe in and fill yourself with divine light, and then lovingly breathe it into any person, sentient being, or situation. And you are living love in the silence.
sacred silence of meditation, let's now turn to the spiritual practice of generosity.
Fullness, take a sip from the lips of eternal sweetness. Blessed ways are wise, let your heart entwine with the one, in union with the Lord divine. Beloved kiss of bliss, blessed beautifulness, take a sip from the lips of eternal sweetness.